opioid epidemic has become increasingly severe in the U.S. In 2019, more than 70,000 Americans died from opioid overdose. But opioid use is nothing new, and the severe consequences associated with poppy-derived drug date back to ancient times. Opioids from the Papaver Somniferum, a variety of poppy with a name resembling somnus, the Latin word for sleep. Papaver Somniferum has been used and abused for millennia, and accounts of its benefits and harms span across cultures and time.
What is Papaver somniferum? Papaver somniferum, commonly known as the breadseed or opium poppy, is a plant that originated from the eastern Mediterranean. Poppy is now grown agriculturally for 3 industries. The first is human consumption of poppy seeds. Think poppy seed bagels. The second is opium production. Opium is the dried latex from Papaver somniferum's seed capsules. Much of agricultural opium production is for the pharmaceutical industry, however, some is for illegal opiate drug production, most famously heroin production. The third industry in which poppy is used is for secondary alkaloid products, which can be used in pain management and in the pharmaceutical industry for other uses. Due to opioids' high value and its extra-legal uses, pharmaceutical opium fields often need high security in addition to their standard management. Papaver somniferum is also grown ornamentally. Many poppy varieties are specifically and carefully bred for certain traits, whether those be high opium content or aesthetic ones.
As early as 2705 BCE, ancient Egyptians used poppy. Papaver somniferum was not native to ancient Egypt and was likely grown in modern-day Turkey or Iran and imported through the Mediterranean trade routes. Poppy was used as a homeopathic remedy to treat ailments like headaches, constipation, inflammation, and bruises. Beyond medicinal purposes, poppy was cultivated for its oil and had both culinary and industrial uses. Papaver rhoeus, a different variety than the opium poppy, Papaver somniferum, was featured in artwork, pottery, and jewelry, and used to decorate tombs. But despite poppy's beneficial medicinal properties and important cultural uses, ancient Egypt also faced issues with opiate use. Egyptians began widespread use of Papaver somniferum as sedating medicine for children, using the flower to stop children from crying and get them to sleep. However, the widespread use came with consequences. Children were the first Egyptians to die of opiate overdoses.
Egyptian adults also struggled with opium use, as did other ancient cultures like Greeks and Romans. In Macedonia in the 4th and 3rd century BCE, Alexander the Great studied Papaver somniferum under Aristotle and Theophrastus, who is now considered the father of botany. Theophrastus studied poppy and opium extensively. In his book, Inquiry into Plants, Theophrastus describes how to harvest Papaver somniferum. Theophrastus also determined opium holds its potency over time and individual tolerance varies. He also acknowledged the danger of opium, stating that when combined with hemlock juice, Papaver somniferum will lead to an easy and painless end, with no antidote.
Modernly, the abuse of opioids has been classified as an epidemic, particularly in the United States, with 10.1 million people aged 12 and older misusing opioids in the U.S. in 2019 alone. From 1996 to 2001, Purdue, a large pharmaceutical company, ran anti-pain campaigns, arguing that the pain people were enduring was futile and could easily be solved by the prescription of opioids. Opioids were traditionally prescribed to hospice care patients, acting as end-of-life pain management, and were prescribed for short-term use. But these anti-pain campaigns targeted long-term patients, with the goal of increasing the long-term market for opioid products. Purdue invited physicians, nurses, and pharmacists to more than 40 national, all-expense-paid conferences held at lavish resorts.
According to the studies verified by the U.S. National Library of Medicine National Institutes of Health, these conferences effectively influence physicians' prescribing patterns in favor of OxyContin. During this time, pharmaceutical companies marketed opioids to those with acute and chronic pain, who would have more long-term needs. Those studies continue to recognize that consequences of long-term opioid use are unclear in terms of pain management, and that long-term use is harmful in terms of side effects. Beyond conferences, another reason this epidemic is so widespread was the initial misrepresentation of the addictive aspect of opioids, as marketing originally minimized the risk of addiction.
Now approaching Stewart at Seneca.
I feel like we've just gotten to know each other. But you're really cool, man. See? The green street businesses, including Irvine. So what do the consequences of these unregulated marketing campaigns look like? We come to you live from Tompkins County Mental Health Center, which encompasses the Alcohol and Drug Council building. According to the National Center for Biotechnology, 3 million U.S. citizens and 16 million individuals have been reported have had or currently suffer from opioid use disorder. Unfortunately, Tompkins County is no exception to this nationwide crisis, which is only compounded by the pandemic. There were 19 recorded deaths attributed to opioid overdoses in 2020. For context, the population of Tompkins is just over 100,000 people. This is the third highest number of deaths related to opioids since 2007 in Tompkins County, trumped by 21 deaths in 2016 and 22 deaths in 2017.
Fortunately, education surrounding opioid use has improved a lot recently, as have resources. However, there's still a lot of improvement that needs to be made. Go to your front step and take a look in your local Ithaca Times newspaper. Flip through a couple of pages. Look at the headlines. The October 19th Ithaca Times publication reported that Tompkins County received, quote, $1.7 million, end quote, from a, quote, opioid lawsuit, end quote, which would be used towards, quote, providing relief for those who cannot afford it, end quote, according to the chair of Tompkins County Legislature, Leslyn McBean Claiborne. Stories like these are all too frequent.
Here in Ithaca and the surrounding county, Cayuga Addiction Recovery Services, also known as CARS, as well as the Alcohol and Drug Council of Tompkins County offer programs for those addicted to opioids. The Alcohol and Drug Council building, located on 201 East Green Street, offers assessments, individual counseling sessions, free individual Narcan training and kits, medication-assisted treatment, and a slew of other supporting services. CARS offers outpatient care services located on 334 West State Street in Ithaca and has a men's residential addiction recovery center in Trumansburg, New York.
So while opium addiction is nothing new and dates back to the ancient Egyptian and Greco-Roman times, modern times have increased the rate and intensity of addiction.
With ample resources and large monopolies, the pharmaceutical industry has bred new varieties of poppy, grown them on large scales, developed new opioid drugs, and successfully marketed them to the American public.
Opiate addiction is widespread in American society, but with innumerable organizations providing recovery services and advocating for better education against opiate prescriptions, hopefully Americans can get the opiate epidemic under control soon.